If you're an entrepreneur, you've taken big risks, created many jobs, and devoted yourself to your business. When it comes to building your succession and transition plan, who should be involved? What are the steps along the way? Welcome to Finish Big, the podcast with Mark Dorman, sponsored by Succession Plus, inspired by the book Finish Big, How Great Entrepreneurs Exit Their Companies on Top, by the noted entrepreneurial author Bo Burlingham. In this podcast, we share success stories along with our expertise and knowledge about what will probably be the largest financial transaction of your life. Now, on to the show.
Hello, this is Mark Dorman, your host of the Finish Big podcast. And today I'm joined by one of my very good friends from the Phoenix, Arizona marketplace, Joe Scheid. Let me tell you about Joe Scheid. Joe is a founding member of the Legacy Advisors Network. And for nearly 25 years ago, Joe was drawn to financial planning as a way to make a positive impact on people. His unique and down-to-earth approach helps clients identify and navigate the emotional drivers behind their financial decisions. Over the years, Joe has helped his business owner clients reach their financial objectives. Business owner clients, as we all know, have unique circumstances requiring nuanced, specialized skills and experience. Joe has helped this unique set of clients understand the value of their business and what the overall impact their business value has on their personal net worths. Asset balancing, market timing, and personal exit time horizons all come into play. Together, through many discovery conversations, succession objectives are identified and strategies are explored to achieve their optimal resorts. Joe Scheid was born and raised in Phoenix, Arizona. He earned his Bachelor of Science degree from the W.P. Carey School of Business at the Arizona State University. Joe is a certified family business specialist and holds a certification in long-term care planning. He's also a certified exit planning advisor. He's been a board member of the 100 Club of Arizona since 2003, which is a First Responders Foundation. And he has served as chairman. He and his wife, Jenny, and their furry son, Walter, live in the Phoenix area. Joe Scheid, welcome to Finish Big, the podcast, my friend.
Thank you very much for having me here, Mark.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. So we had your partner, Diane Thomas,
yes,
on, also known as the Dragon Lady, ladies and gentlemen, for about maybe 15 episodes ago. And we're going to talk about that relationship because it really is truly a yin and a yang. But let's start. Your bio reads that you've been in the financial services business, serving business owners for about 25 years. Talk to us how you actually got introduced to it, what that start was like, and then I want to really roll up our sleeves and get into the unique elements of dealing with private and family business owners.
That's a great question, Mark. I was a career changer at the age of 29. I was at the point in my life where I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to be when I grew up, and went and met with an advisor to my mother and stepfather who said, very frankly, you need to come work for me. He had taken over the Connecticut Mutual Life Insurance General Agency in downtown Phoenix. Went to work for him. 2 years later, Mass Mutual bought Connecticut Mutual, and I really need to update my bio because it's actually coming up on 30 years here in May. It's been an incredible ride. And what a beautiful way to be able to assist people in their financial journey. I'm just very grateful for having the opportunity to do that.
Excellent. At what point in your career did you gravitate towards the private and family business owner marketplace?
Again, great question. That probably started about 10 years in. I was finding that more and more of my clients that I was working with on the personal side were also business owners. Phoenix, the metropolitan Phoenix area is very construction and manufacturing heavy, as well as engineering. And I was working with a number of engineers that own their own firm. What I found, don't know exactly what it was like for you, but what I found was that it was very easy to have the conversations with a business owner about their personal finance. But it was very difficult to get the business owner to open up with them about the business and what was happening both financially and non-financially within the business when you had entered the room through the financial advisor door, so to speak. Without having that information, it was very, very difficult to do a thorough financial plan for a business owner because, as you know, the business is more than likely, in 95% of the cases, the largest asset that individual owns.
Yeah, I mean, and I think you and I would agree. I mean, it's very, very difficult to pin business owners down, right? I mean, they're just running 100 miles an hour, that you really never seem to get their undivided attention. And when you come in through that financial advisor door, I've always said, this has happened to me countless times. People say, well, I have a financial advisor and I really don't need another one. But that financial advisor never talks to them about their business. And because the field of play of seasoned advisors that can talk with business owners and their other advisors, their accountant, their attorney, their CPA, et cetera, is few and far between. I'm sure it's that way in the Phoenix marketplace as well.
Yeah, I think that's a truth that goes across the country. I think there's a lot of financial advisors, and you and I have talked about this. I think there's a lot of financial advisors out there that want to say that they have the expertise to be able to work with business owners surrounding the business on anything other than an asset to put on a balance sheet on their personal financial balance sheet. But advisors that take the time to learn and to work with clients and develop a process are few and far between, as you and I have both seen over the years.
I have to ask you a crazy question, because I know you and I are about the same age and we've shared this a lot. But when I started in the industry and we started working with business owners, for me, it was all the Main Street business owners, the dry cleaners, the print shops, the single dentist's office, et cetera. And then as I matured and as I got more experience and got a little bit of more confidence, I would say that we started to go up into larger businesses, 5 million in revenue, 10 million. And now, some this day, maybe 100 million, 200 million. Was your journey similar in that regard?
Very much so. Yeah, buddy. It was very much the same. I would say probably it's in the last 10 to 12 years that I'm talking and working with business owners that are anywhere above that $8 to $10 million range on top line revenue. And the largest company that we have spent any time working with was about 450 million of top line revenue. But we tend in our marketplace, we're not big, but we're mighty kind of a thing. Most of the companies here, we're finding our sweet spot is somewhere between 5 and 50, where we land most of the time.
And, Cleveland, Northeast Ohio, Akron area is a lot of manufacturing. You're saying out in the Arizona market, I would imagine, like you said, a lot of construction. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay.
Very construction focused. Still a lot of folks that are moving here. Construction, engineering, and we do have, surprisingly, we've got quite a bit of aerospace manufacturing here too. And then some of the larger, we're also a big destination for the chip manufacturers. The Taiwan Semiconductor opened up that massive plant to the north of metropolitan Phoenix.
That's excellent. So one thing we do share is the passion for the business market. One of the things that I love about it is just how diverse the needs are. And it's a lot more art than it is science. But we know that if we're calling on a $10 million business owner, we can assist that individual, he or she, with a retirement plan need, a key employee retention plan need, their personal estate plan, their personal wealth accumulation plan, et cetera. And that really brought us together when we first met through the Legacy Advisors Network, where we had that shared passion. And we thought, hey, we got to start a group of folks that kind of think similarly in this regard. And I really believe that the small business owners are truly the heroes of the American economy. And they need advocates. They need people like us to help them plan, help them focus. But one of the things that really struck me when we first met was your partner, Diane Thomas, and the uniqueness of that relationship. Can you share with our audience how that started, how you met? Because you guys are very different people, but you share a very similar passion.
Yeah, Diane is unbelievable. We have known each other, Diane and I, for over 25 years and done some business in the past together. When she bought and took over Premier Sales, which is her M&A firm, I had known her before she did that. And we had been out of touch actually for probably about a decade, Mark, and then ran into each other and realized that we didn't want to let that separation happen again. So we started keeping in touch. And then she approached me in 2014 about a case that she was asked to work on with a privately held company that was interested in transitioning from the first to the second generation. And so the long story short, what we ended up doing was kind of going in there blind and not knowing exactly, not having a process. And the first thing that we found was that there was a terrible lack of communication between the family members, a lot of bickering between siblings. And the business, you and I have talked about this also. A lot of businesses that do different things under one roof can get very siloed. It can be very difficult to get those silos talking to each other and the people that are running those silos to look at the business as one large enterprise that has just smaller parts underneath it. Fast forward to 10 months later, and we had developed a really well done succession plan. We knew how it was funded. We knew the tax implications. All the documents were drafted and signed. We had done a very deep de-risking of the company. The fun part of it was when you spend time working on the business instead of in it, working in it goes a lot smoother. And so we found that the top line revenue increased from roughly 8.4 to 14.4, and the bottom line profit went from $500,000 to $2.5 million. And so we realized we were onto something. I reached out to a mentor of mine and a mutual friend of ours, Mr. Rick Scruggs, and said, "Hey, Rick, I'm not quite sure what to do with this. We're onto something, but I don't know where to go from here." And he said, "There's this guy in Medina, Ohio, I want you to talk to. His name is Mark Dorman."
Yeah, the thriving metropolis of Medina, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And so Diane and I are very different, as you said. Well, to finish that story, we came out, met with you, met your team, and found that the things that we were doing could not have run more parallel. You and I have the same barber. We're the same age.
Yeah.
The same amount of facial hair. I mean, it was a marriage made in heaven, right?
Yeah, no, it was great. It was great. I mean, and much like me working with Aaron Harrison at the time, I mean, it was a bit of opposites attract. Me working with Aaron, who's an attorney, Diane, who's really more of a brilliant financial mind. It's doing kind of an M&A work, but you have two voices in a room and they complement each other instead of speaking over one another. So that I think you would agree that those conversations with people with a shared vision really help to accelerate your growth in the business market, right?
Yes, sir, without a doubt. And the other thing that really helped us to grow exponentially was we adopted very early on the principle of highest and best use. When you have a partner, it can be very difficult sometimes to say, well, okay, I need you to do the proposal this time, or would you write up the minutes from our last workshop or meeting? What we figured out right away was we were able to detail what we each did very well, and then also what we could do if needed, but it was not our highest and best use. And so in our practice, we follow that principle of highest and best use in everything that we do, and we don't have any arguments because of that.
Yeah. And it was at that time that you and I both worked diligently within the Legacy Advisors Network, or LAN as we refer to it, and really how we both got involved even deeper with the exit planning community through the Exit Planning Institute. You're kind of one of those guys that just jumps into the deep end, gets involved, whether it's in any type of leadership role. You're one of the folks that truly steps up and steps in and leans forward. Let's talk about the Exit Planning Institute first, and then we'll come back to the Legacy Advisors Network. What attracted you to EPI, or the Exit Planning Institute, which is also based in Northeast Ohio?
Frankly, there's different methodologies out there for working in the succession and exit space. And you had developed within the LAN wheel. We had developed our own process. Ours mirrored each other. And I found that EPI's most closely mirrored what we were doing within LAN. And I thought there was a lot of synergy there. It wasn't long after that, I think, that Scott Snyder, the son, took over EPI. He started producing more collateral that I think is very important, informational pieces that could be used with business owners and things. So I think EPI is a great place for an education. The value acceleration methodology that is taught there aligns with what you and I have been doing the entire time that we've known each other. They have been a great partner for LAN and a great partner for us here in Arizona, and will continue to be into the future.
Hi, this is Mark Dorman. Sorry for the interruption. I know you're listening to the Finish Big podcast, and I'm excited to have you here. If in the event you have any questions, please head over to www.succession.plus/US, where you can find out how to reach me. I'd love to hear from you. And now back to the show. Yeah, I think that when I went through my SEPA, which is really at the onset of COVID, It was part of their first virtual class. And I was, with 15 years experience in this space, I was really taken aback by just the quality of the programming and the classes that were offered and the topics that were covered. Anything from reading comprehensive financial statements to understanding the capital markets to the kind of the ins and outs of the psychology of exiting owners and key employee retention strategies. I just thought it was exactly what kind of the doctor ordered, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I know that you and I were instrumental in having a bunch of folks partner with EPI that are also part of LAN to really sharpen our saw there. But your firm now is Legacy Advisors Arizona. Walk us through a high-level review of maybe your planning process and how you and Diane kind of seek to partner. And I understand you're also a Capitalize user, correct?
Yes, sir.
So feel free to incorporate that as well. But I mean, it's really, that was a game changer for, I think, the industry. I mean, those guys have really changed the game.
There is absolutely no question. I met Craig West at the 2022 Exit Planning Summit that EPI puts on in Scottsdale and saw Capitalize for the first time. And then we as a group within LAN looked at it. And I think there's a lot there and it takes a while to digest. But very simply put, Capitalize is the software that was built around the methodology taught at the Exit Planning Institute, which is the same process and methodology that you and I had followed, that you wrote in the LAN wheel and that whole process. And it was so easy to adopt the process because it's what we were already doing. Now we just had something like almost like a project management software to put structure around that process, right? I will sing the praises of Capitalize. The thing, I don't know about you, Mark, but the thing that impresses me the most about Craig and Nick and Jared and Sam and Zach and all the people over there is they want that tool to be better constantly.
Yeah, it's continuous improvement, right?
Yeah, and you don't always get that in a software company. Very simply, our process is you have to start by identifying what the value of the business is today. We're not doing a certified appraisal. I don't think you're doing certified appraisals. What we are is providing an opinion of value. And we're generally going to be able to get between 3 and 5% of what a certified appraisal would provide. Once you've got that value, you need to be able to protect the value that's already been built, the value that's there. The next step is, and it's a big one, is the acceleration of that value, growing that value. And a lot of what we do in that stage, in that third stage, involves building out what the options are for the owner from the standpoint of an exit. Nobody likes talking about exiting their business, especially when it's something they've been doing and pouring their heart into for 40 years. But we're all going to leave one way or the other, right?
Sure, yeah.
And so it's so much better to have a plan of what the options are and what that can look like. So we develop those during that stage 3. Stage 4 is basically harvesting the value. And stage 5 is managing the value once you've harvested it. And there's a lot of the estate planning piece that is kind of woven from stage 3 to stage 5.
Yeah, I think that one of the things that Capitalize really emphasizes, and we've gone through this with many of our clients, is a couple of comments there, Joe, because there's a lot to unpack. One, I think one of the most valuable conversations that we have, and it could be over a period of meetings, is what are my options, right? What are the options that a business owner has for him or her to exit? It could be transition to insiders. Well, what would that look like? And that would include an ESOP. And what does that look like? And certainly transition to a third party. That's all there. But what Capitalize and really the value acceleration methodology continuously enforces upon us is that there are some fundamental elements, just like if you were playing golf, that you have to have good stance, good alignment, good posture. So you've got to have your key employees, you got to have a plan, you got to know what your business is worth. Is that enough? There's just certain things that are fundamental to whichever door you choose to exit through or explore. And that reinforces that, to your point earlier, like you're building a better business, therefore it becomes a little bit more enjoyable. And sometimes you get a little bit more, if you witness this as well, people get kind of reinvigorated to want to stay in the game longer, right?
Absolutely. We've seen that happen. Yep, just like you have. And I think you're seeing many more owner non-operators. They're willing to continue to carry the risk of the ownership, but they don't necessarily want to be there day to day on an operational basis running the business. What I want owners to understand is you're not stuck in any one of those options. It's a matter of figuring out for each owner what the best one for them is, what the tax implications of each of those are. So many people, you and I have talked about this over dinner in the past. So many people want to default very, very quickly to an ESOP. And they don't understand the complexities of ESOPs. Or other owners will say, well, I've already been contacted by 3 PE firms and 2 investment banks, but they don't really understand that those are just feelers that are being put out. And some of the numbers that are kicked around in those conversations couldn't be farther away from what the
just
reality
trial
of
balloons,
the,
right?
yeah, it's shooting for the stars. So what we do, just like what you do, is we help them understand what those options are and then let them decide for themselves what the best option for them and their family is.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I'm just picturing a good client of ours right now that they said the most valuable conversations we had is when you kind of unpacked what our options were. And then we started dreaming and kind of envisioning what those might look like. As we seek to wrap up, and this has been great, Joe, thank you so much. But give us a couple of tips for business owners today that are seeking to exit on their terms, so to speak. I mean, what are some of the best advice you'd give to a fellow business owner?
The number one thing would be talk to somebody about it. And it's not necessarily going to be your CPA or your business attorney.
Those aren't bad places to start, right? I mean,
no, they're not bad places to start. I mean, you've seen this too. There are a number of companies that have done internal transitions, and the CPAs and the attorneys have had difficult times getting it done. We did one where they had been working on it for 10 years, and we came in and did it in a year because we didn't think like an attorney or think like a CPA. Right.
Just go a little bit deeper there. What was the big difference there? What enabled you to kind of get the ball in the end zone, whereas the other advisors struggled?
We focused on the people.
Yeah, I can relate to that significantly. Yeah.
The differences in ideas about what the value of the business was very easy to have those conversations when you're basically mediating a discussion as opposed to negotiating a deal. The owner at the time and the 2 key employees ended up taking that business over. They've been together for over 20 years. They knew each other. They cared about each other. And then business gets in the way and it can be very contentious. And we just eliminated all of that right out of the get-go.
Contentious might not be the best word, but it can create a lot of anxiety. That's kind of this, it's like it just appears, and you can just get everyone to relax and say, look, this is normal. I mean, that's one of the great things I think our firm and our team does here in Cleveland is consistently, and I know you're the same way in Phoenix, consistently reminding business owners that it's okay to feel this way, right? Feel anxious, to feel uptight, to, lay in bed at night thinking, oh, what should I do? But I mean, these are very common threads that run through the mind of every business owner at every stage, regardless of what city they're in or what size of the business they own.
Amen. You hit it. And at the end of the day, it's the people, it's the longevity of that business. I've listened to almost every one of your podcasts. And, you've had people on that have talked about the fact that this is a critical issue for our economy as a country.
Huge.
And we're in an area, and if I'm not mistaken, you are too, where the small to medium-sized businesses are running the economy of our area. And in metropolitan Phoenix, as big as this city is, we are not driven by the huge publicly owned corps. There's a bunch of them here, but they don't run this economy. It's the folks that have been struggling to build their businesses for the last 20 to 40 years.
Yeah.
And we just want to see those people ride off into the sunset the way they want to.
Yeah. Well said. Our guest today has been Joe Scheid. Joe is one of the partners in Legacy Advisors Arizona with his terrific partner, Diane Thomas. Joe, how do folks get a hold of you and Diane, and then how do they learn more about the Legacy Advisors Network?
Well, the Legacy Advisors Network, you can just go to the website. It's legacyadvisorsnetwork.com, just like it sounds, and it's advisors with an O, advisors. And then Legacy Arizona is just legacyadvisorsaz.com.
Great.
So Apple Zebra. And if anybody wants to reach out and give us a call, we're at 480-292-8116.
Great, Joe. Great to be with you. Again, this is Mark Dorman for the Finish Big podcast. I want to thank Joe Scheid. I want to thank our sponsor, Succession Plus. And most of all, I want to take this opportunity, as we've recorded now our 33rd episode, to thank Mr. Bo Burlingham author of Finish Big, for giving us the rights to provide this great content to our business owner community. Until we meet again, everyone, thanks again, and here's to finishing big. Take care.
Hope you enjoyed listening to Finish Big, the podcast with Mark Dorman, sponsored by Succession Plus. Don't forget to click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. Visit our website at www.succession.plus/US or give us a call at 330-350-5410. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guests and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Succession Plus. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional tax or legal advice. Always seek the advice of your legal or tax professionals with any questions you may have regarding your specific situation.